This story was sent to me by Caressa McKnight, and this is none other than Jeffrey Epstein, or as I have now dubbed him, Jeffrey CREEpstein. And I'm only doing this because, this is the most recent thing that has come out about him, but to be honest, I don't expect much to come from it, because this guy literally has the most privilege I have seen come from a white person, palm-colored individual, when it comes to these kinds of cases. This man literally isn't even walking even in the same kind of tightrope that Harvey Weinstein was on. But this story is coming out and it's on the Daily Beast, and it says Jeffrey CREEpstein arrested for sex trafficking of minors. This article was posted today on July the 6th, 2019. Billionaire pedophile, I'm glad they put pedophile there because that's exactly what he is, Jeffrey CREEpstein was arrested for allegedly sex trafficking dozens of minors in New York and Florida between 2002 and 2005 and will appear in court on New York on Monday, according to 3 law enforcement sources. The arrest by the FBI NYPD Crimes Against Children Task Force comes about 12 years after the 66-year-old financier essentially got a slap on the wrist for allegedly molesting dozens of underage girls in Florida. For more than a decade, CREEpstein's alleged abuse of minors have been the subject of lawsuits brought by victims, investigations by local and federal authorities, and exposés in the press. But despite the attention cast on his alleged sex crimes, the hedge funder has managed to avoid any meaningful jail time, let alone federal charges. Now, y'all remember the last time they had him, they claimed he was in jail, but he wasn't in jail. This man was literally able to float between states, between New York and Florida, and live lavishly when he was supposed to be in jail. The only restriction I think he really had is that he couldn't leave the establishment, and that's about it. Some punishment. The new indictment, which according to 2 sources will be until Monday in Manhattan federal court, will reportedly allege that CREEpstein sexually exploited dozens of underage girls in a now familiar scheme, paying them cash for quote-unquote massages, and then molesting or sexually abusing them in his Upper East Side mansion on his palatial residence in Palm Beach. CREEpstein will be charged with 1 count of sex trafficking of minors and 1 count of conspiracy to engage in sex trafficking of minors, which could put him away for a maximum of 45 years. The case is being handled by the Public Corruption Unit of Southern District of New York with assistance from the district human trafficking officials and the FBI. I'm going to just be honest. I'm not going to hold my breath with this one. If they actually put Jeffrey CREEpstein away for 45 years with any type of attachment saying that he could get out, I will probably be one of the most surprised and shocked people on the planet. One of many, to be honest. Several of the billionaire's employees and associates allegedly recruited the girls for CREEpstein's abuse, and some victims eventually became recruiters themselves. Now, what does that sound like? Doesn't that sound like the NXIVM thing that Keith Raniere and Allison Mack were a part of? You know, the whole recruiting of people and then turning them into sex slaves and branding them. I don't know if any branding was involved with this, but this sounds just like NXIVM. The girls were as young as 14, and CREEpstein knew they were underage, according to details of the arrest and indictment shared by 2 officials. CREEpstein's attorney, Mark Weinberg, declined to comment when reached by the Daily Beast on Saturday night. The SDNY also declined to comment. It's been a long time coming. It's been too long coming, said attorney David Boyes, who represents CREEpstein's accusers Virginia Roberts Guthrie and Sarah Ransom. It is an important step towards getting justice for the many victims of Mr. CREEpstein's sex trafficking enterprise. We hope that the prosecutors will not stop with Mr. CREEpstein, because there were many other people who participated with him and made the sex trafficking possible. In an era where Me Too has toppled powerful men, CREEpstein's name was largely absent from the national conversation. No surprise there, until the Miami Herald published a 3-part series on how his wealth, power, and influence shielded him from federal prosecution. For years, the Daily Beast has reported on CREEpstein's alleged abuse and his easy jail sentence and soft treatment by the U.S. Attorney's Office, which ultimately scrapped a 53-page indictment against Epstein. Now, I have to stop right there. It said going after powerful men. You know how they kept saying that Bill Cosby was this powerful person and everything like that? Listen, Bill Cosby could not hold a candle to what Jeffrey CREEpstein does. The only reason we knew Bill Cosby because he was more popular. We knew him from the Cosby Show. We knew from stand up, I Spy, Fat Albert, in the various contributions he's made. That's why we know who he is. Jeffrey CREEpstein is just more on the business side, so you didn't really know much about him unless you were in that circle. But he has way more power and influence, as you can clearly see. So when people say that Bill Cosby had all this power, he had influence, but he didn't have all this power like they claim he has. He doesn't even have the same kind of power that Harvey Weinstein has. And of course, the one thing that he does not have that these two clearly and physically and evidently have is the power of whiteness. So when people come at you with that whole Bill Cosby got all this power, point them into the direction of this person right here in particular. If you don't point them to Harvey Weinstein, point them towards Jeffrey CREEpstein. Ironically, both of their last name in sounding the same. An earlier version of CREEpstein's plea deal included a 10-year federal sentence before his star-studded lawyers threatened to go to trial in a case prosecutors feared was unwinnable, in part because CREEpstein's team dredged up dirt on the victims, including social media posts indicating drug use. Meanwhile, the financier fitted among his homes in Palm Beach, New York City, and the Virgin Islands, as well as his secluded Zorro Ranch in Stanley, New Mexico, transporting young women on his private jet to facilitate the sexual abuse that's gone unchecked by authorities. In an announcement planned for Monday, the FBI is expected to provide a number for the other victims to contact the SDNY. As early as 2003, Vicky Ward's Vanity Fair profile cracked into CREEpstein's enigmatic facade, and as Ward noted, revealed he was definitely not what he claimed to be. Back then, allegations of sexual abuse leveled by one accuser, Maria Farmer, and her family were excised from Ward's piece after CREEpstein pressured the magazine. Jeffrey's bust came mere months after a federal judge ruled his 2007 non-prosecution agreement, secretly inked under former U.S. Attorney and current Labor Secretary Alexander Acosta, violated federal law by keeping CREEpstein's victims in the dark. Under the sweetheart deal, CREEpstein dodged federal charges that might have sent him to prison for life. He instead pleaded guilty to a minor state charges in Palm Beach and served 13 months in a private wing of a county jail, mostly on work release. So he got a private cell or a private wing, not a cell, but a wing, like one that was just where he was at, away from everybody else. And he was on work release. That means he spent a few days in prison, but on the weekends, most likely, he was allowed to go and handle business as long as he reported back to the prison by a certain time that following week. And I've heard plenty of stories like that, and they only give that to mainly palm colored, and you have to be upper echelon palm colored to get that, for the most part. The alleged victims who sued the government for violating the Crime Victims' Rights Act asked the court to rescind CREEpstein's non-prosecution agreement and call for the feds to hold him criminally liable. The NPA also granted immunity to CREEpstein's co-conspirators identified in the document, and including but not limited to Sarah Kellen, Adriana Ross, Leslie Groff, or Nadia Marcinkova. But in June, prosecutors for the government advised the judge to uphold the plea deal, saying that voiding it would cause unintended harm to many of the victims and jeopardize monetary settlements that more than a dozen of them received. Jeffrey reportedly supplied valuable intel to federal investigators in exchange for his lenient plea deal. It's been speculated this information may have been related to Bear Stearns' executives' alleged crimes in the lead up to the 2008 financial crisis. According to one Page 6 report, Jeffrey lost $57 million in Bear Stearns' collapse and was a victim identified as major investor number one in the indictment of hedge fund managers Ralph Chaffee and Matthew Tannen. A federal jury acquitted Chaffee and Tannen of securities fraud charges, but in March 2019, Fox Business reported that CREEpstein did not provide any meaningful cooperation to obtain his relatively light sentence in the hedge fund case or likely any case tied to the financial crisis. Jack Goldberger, one of CREEpstein's attorneys in the Palm Beach sex crime case, told Fox of the Bear Stearns prosecution. Mr. CREEpstein was never spoken to by any of the authorities on the subject. He was a very large investor and no more, no less. So basically, this guy literally can skate on by on anything just for the simple fact that he is a huge contributor to the economy. And of course, tack onto the fact of the obvious, the physical obvious. One former federal prosecutor on the Bear Stearns case agreed. Bottom line, I have no knowledge of CREEpstein's cooperating in any way of the Bear Stearns case. There was no reason to use him, the ex-prosecutor told Fox. Once a math teacher at the elite Dalton School, Jeffrey CREEpstein left for the Bear Stearns before starting his own firm, J. CREEpstein and Company, which supposedly only managed the fortunes of billionaires. Les Wexner, chairman of Limited Brands, is his only known client. In April 2019, a new accuser came forward with claims that CREEpstein and his alleged madam, Ghislaine Maxwell, assaulted her at Wexner's Ohio residence in the 1990s. CREEpstein, Maxwell, and Wexner have not commented on those allegations. I'm going to need these people, whoever they are, to maybe go in there wearing hidden body cameras. Because that seems to be the only way they'll actually have proof. But then again, they'll probably find a way to get out of that as well. CREEpstein's financial career has always been shrouded in mystery. Over the years, CREEpstein built himself as a renowned philanthropist and pledged $30 million for Harvard's program for evolutionary dynamics. He's pawed around with a host of famous faces, including your current president and Bill Clinton. The latter traveled with CREEpstein to Africa to address issues like economic development and AIDS. That's kind of creepy in itself, of them going, of those two going there, Clinton and CREEpstein. Let me see. I'm trying to scroll down some more. It's a lot to this article. You know, I'm actually stop reading right there, and I'm actually, if you want to read the rest, I will post the rest of the article, mainly because this article is very lengthy and it's a lot to read. Like, it would probably take me like an additional 20 minutes to read the rest of it. But I'll post the link to it. Y'all pretty much get the gist of what's going on. So they're taking him back in for new charges. Who knows what's going to come out of it? I'm not holding my breath. We saw how they treated him with this previous one, but they're determined to get this guy. But good luck. That's all I have to say, because he might walk away from this one as well. And if he does, we won't be surprised. But like I said, if they manage to get him on what they're trying to get him on, congratulations, I guess. But it is what it is. This guy is like I said, is a straight up creep. No doubt about that. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. I will leave the link I will pin it to the comments, and y'all can read the rest of the article yourself. Because like I said, it's a very long article. And I will talk to you in the next one.